All right, guys, back again, and I'm fashionably late again to review Day 24's movie, which is Hostel 3. I have seen the other two Hostel movies before. I saw them, I think, a couple years ago for the first time. I've only seen them once, and I remember enjoying both of them, honestly. Like, I thought they were fun and ridiculous, and Eli Roth, his movies, I like for the most part. They're really ridiculous, but I think that Hostel, the first one, is definitely one of his better ones. The second one is extremely ridiculous, but it's so fun. So I do like the first two Hostel movies, and I was trying to watch Hostel 3 for a while. Like, I was seriously, like, debating on watching it soon, and I was like, well, I'll just do it for 31 Days of Horror, because I've never seen the third one before. So going into it, I liked the first two a lot, like a good amount. Um, and part three I've heard is terrible. I heard people say they hated it. They said it's the worst one. They said um, it's weird that people say that because Eli Roth didn't direct this one. A lot of people hate Eli Roth's stuff, and I don't hate his stuff. I do like a lot of his stuff, but I hear a lot of people just hate his movies. And this it's funny that this one is considered the worst because it's not directed by him. It's directed by somebody I forgot the name of. And the plot of this is interesting because this is not set outside of the US. This is set in Vegas. And it is about a group of young adults that are brought into a ring of these rich assholes that trap them and torture them. So it is like Hostel 1 and 2 in which these characters do get trapped and tortured, but it's not outside of the country, and also it's just a group of rich like assholes that are just like I guess that's what they were in the first two from what I remember. I'm trying to remember. Maybe this is just a branch in the U.S. For these rich people who bet on how they torture people and how they kill people. So it might be connected to Hostel 1 and 2, but I haven't seen those in a while. Like I said, a couple of years ago I watched them, so I don't remember the details on if it's connected to this particular set of like villains. It could be, but I'm not sure. But it's weird because this is Hostel 3, but it feels really unconnected to the first two because it isn't set outside of the US, and the fact that it feels more like a hangover movie. Like at first, like it's about these guys who are getting one of the main guys to party with him before he gets married. Friends party, and then they're gonna get strippers and all that. And it's basically The Hangover at first. If it was set as a horror movie, like afterwards, like it's got the stupid shenanigans at first, where like these young adults are being stupid and douchey, like the first two Hostel movies. They're douchey in those movies as well. So I guess in a way it is connected to the Hostel 1 and 2 movies in terms of like the characters, in terms of the archetypes that the characters are, because these characters, not all of them are douchey, but they are like the first two where they are douchey characters. Um, Especially that guy who's the first guy to get it in the movie. Like he's the biggest douchebag in the movie. He's like the one who says, like I'm gone from my wife, so I'm gonna mute my phone so that bitch won't find me, like so I can go get laid, whatever. Like that kind of guy. Like that guy was just ridiculous, and he was extremely over the top. Um, and it's so weird. Like I said, with this one, the character archetypes are very similar. Like you've got the main lead who is like whatever Jay Baruchel, or no, Jay Hernandez, whatever Jay Hernandez's character's name was in the first Hostel. Like it reminded me of that, where it's the everyday kind of guy, the straight man. The main character felt like that. This movie really does suffer with archetypes of these characters, but and the story is interesting in terms of it being like a hangover movie at first, and then or a wedding shenanigans movie, and then becomes a horror movie. Like I thought that was okay. Like honestly, it's weird because I was gonna say that I've always heard this one's terrible, and I've heard people really say it's bad, and I watched it, and yeah, it is pretty bad, but honestly, I had a fun time with it. I enjoyed it. I thought I wouldn't expect that much enjoyment out of it. Um, it is a ripoff of a lot of other stuff, most definitely. but I had an enjoyable time. Like, I liked the fact that it was just really ridiculous and fun. I liked how the opening of the movie um, kind of surprised me because it changed up the archetype of there's a nerdy guy who goes and finds this couple and they're like, yeah, have sex with us. And you think the nerdy guy is like the guy that's going to get killed. But then no, the nerdy guy is in charge of this big ring of rich people who are the ones that are torturing them and betting money on them. And that surprised me. I thought that was a cool opening. Like, I didn't really expect that, and I just thought it was a cool way to do a 180 on that kind of character archetype. Um, Again, no Eli Roth directed this. No Eli Roth directing this movie, but I still thought that this one had slightly kind of had a feeling, not of connectivity, but a feeling of trying to imitate Eli Roth with the douchey characters, with the torture. It felt somewhat like it was trying to be a copy of Eli Roth, which it makes sense. They're calling it Hostel 3. They've got to connect it in some way. So they kind of connected it with characters and how they act, with the violence. But it doesn't feel as memorable in that way, but I still think is ridiculous and fun though. Um, there's some ridiculous deaths in this movie. I was laughing a lot. The first guy, like, I didn't laugh at this one, but the first guy, the douche that gets it, the who dies first, or you don't see him die, but he gets his skin like peeled off, like they peel off his skin, and what these rich people are doing is like they have him behind a glass, and somebody comes up, peels his skin off, and rips it off, and then that's all you see, and it's like that was pretty bad, like in a good way, like that was gross, but I like that. Um, I liked how there's a girl who gets fed cockroaches, like dozens of cockroaches down her throat. It reminded me of Creep Show, of course, with cockroaches. If you think of that, you think of Creep Show. If you're thinking of a horror movie, like that is what I'm going to think of. And I thought that was funny, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. And I liked how those people get a hold of the of the douche's phone, and then the main characters are like, where's whatever douchebag's name is, where's douchebag, and they go, oh, he's right here, and here's the other girl, and it's a picture of her sleeping, but it's literally just a picture after she got the cockroaches down her throat and she's dead. And they're like, oh, she's just sleeping, okay. And I thought that was pretty funny because it was just like, oh wow, we know the situation of what's going on, but they don't. But it was a funny cliche that worked. I thought it was entertaining. And then there's a guy who gets a spear through him, and I thought that was kind of fun. I liked how the end of the movie got ridiculous with the fact that they had a building that could explode. That worked for me. I thought that was fun. And I just really enjoyed the fact that this one, with those moments I mentioned, just made it really fun. And it's not like it's a good movie, but I was entertained and I had a fun time. I did enjoy it. Um, I Like I said, it's so weird though because it is a Hostel 3, like it is a Hostel movie, but again, because it's set in a different location, it feels like it's got different villains from what I remember. Like I said, I haven't seen the first two in a long time, in a couple of years, so I might be wrong on this, but I think the villains felt different than the other two. Again, it's set in the U.S. as opposed to not. Um, I think that it's not as memorable with it's kind of memorable with the weirdness, but it also isn't. Like Eli Roth's two Hostel movies, I can remember crazy shit in those movies. Like I remember in Hostel 2 where the girl is hanging up and she gets her throat slit and that girl underneath her is like orgasming while blood splatters on her. Like that was memorable because it was just so insane. Like am I watching this right now kind of thing? Or at the end of Hostel 2, whenever it's the heads getting chopped, get cut off, and then these kids play with it like a soccer ball, like that makes it memorable because it's just so extremely over the top. And Hostel 1, just the torture stuff is very memorable. And this one is memorable, not as memorable as the first two, definitely not. I think it's definitely the worst out of the three, but it's memorable in how stupid and ridiculous it is. Like I'll remember the fact that they copied most things. Like, this feels like a Hangover movie. It also feels like things like Creepshow with the cockroaches down the throat, or with the face getting peeled off, like something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Um, and just the torture stuff is, it feels like it's related to Hostel in a way, but it's not really that related to it, to the first two. So I'm gonna remember it for being over the top, ridiculous. I can't remember a thing about the characters' names. I can't remember a thing about um, the plot. I just remember the ridiculous stuff. And like I said, that exploding building at the end, that was fun. But it's definitely not one that I'll remember for the characters or the plot, but I'll remember the ridiculous moments of it, as opposed to the first Hostel or and the second one, where I remember what these characters are there for, what they're doing, and then even though I've only seen those movies once, I'll remember those more as a whole. This one is more forgettable, even though it's got some funny, ridiculous, over the top stuff. It still feels like it's like, again, it almost doesn't feel like a Hostel sequel, but it feels like it is in a way because of, again, similar character traits or similar like violence, but like it's mostly ripping off other stuff. So it also feels like it's a lot of other things. So it's weird how it feels kind of like an unofficial sequel, even though it is a sequel, because none of the other characters are in this movie. I'm thinking from the other two, like, I again, prove me wrong in the comments. I don't think that there are characters that return from Hostel 1 and 2 in this. Maybe members of that group that they were in, maybe, but I don't know. And like I said, I haven't seen the first two in a long time, so I'm probably wrong. So we'll see. But there might be more connectivity to the first two than I realized. But like I said, since I'm not very refreshed on the first two, I don't remember. So overall, I had fun. I did enjoy Hostel 3. I thought it was a fun, entertaining, ridiculous time. Like, it's the least memorable out of the three, but I thought it was entertaining and fun. So that's it for today for 31 Days of Horror, day 24. If I didn't say that already, I can't remember if I've already said day 24. I don't think I have. But yeah, stay tuned for more. I've got 7 more days of 31 Days of Horror new watches, so stay tuned. I'm trying to remember what I'm watching tomorrow. I can't remember, but it'll be up tomorrow or the next day. So I'll see you guys there, and take care.